Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva the Thunder Wizard. Today I want to talk to you about just the musing about how crazy the world has become, or how aware I've become of how different the world is than what I thought. A year and a half ago I was not talking about aliens, the Mandela Effect, COVID, Illuminati, election fraud, timeline shifts, or solar flashes, or the idea that planet Earth has moved 73,000 light years. It's a different world. It's just, what world are we in? So I didn't bother to list them, but I wanted to go through everything that has changed in my reality. And it's been going on since September of 2021. September of 2021. Well, first, I guess before that, we had the pandemic and then lockdowns and all of that. And I was safely tucked away in Queensland, Australia, and we were blocked off from the whole world. And I was in a happy little bubble. I liked being there, and I got to watch the rest of the world having all of these crazy problems, and I didn't have to think about any of it, at least until around September of 2021. And but that was new. There'd never been a worldwide pandemic that locked down the entire world like that, where the understanding of society, where we had independent regulatory advisory agencies whose jobs were to not be part of any government, and they were only there to provide suggestions to people. That these advisory agencies, international agencies, started actually creating laws for the rest of the world. That was strange, and that was a little unusual, but I was still part of the narrative, and I believed the hype of what we were being told. That in that world, we had a mainstream news resources that I still believed there were such things as independent journalists. I believed that there was, that you could go and watch the news and find out what was really going on. I knew that, Fox News was very partisan, and I was very hesitant to listen to anything they said. And I was more left-leaning, and I believed that the left-leaning media had independent journalists. And the reason is because that's what it was like when I grew up. In the 70s, that's where you went for all of the news to find out, especially, if you wanted to find out who was going to expose the corruption in government, you went to left-leaning news. Of course, now in hindsight, I'm able to look back and see that even then there was no such thing as a truly independent media, but it was still more independent than now by far. So there was an independent media where I could find out the truth. I lived in a country that was founded on the ideas of freedom and individual choice and equality. And I've come to realize that that's never been true. I would have said, well, listen, it's a system that's got problems. People are imperfect, but the system, the idea behind the system is right. And I don't believe that anymore. I lived in a world where you could understand history You could dig things up out of the ground. You could find old books. You could do things to find out what actually happened in the past. And the Black Tom explosion event that I promise you did not occur has occurred. You can dig artifacts up out of the ground that prove that it happened, and yet it didn't. So we live in a world where we don't know what the past is. We don't know what happened in the past. Even if we try and prove it by digging stuff up out of the ground that, we can prove actually happened, we don't have any proof of anything anymore. I lived in a world where science could explain things, and science can't explain what I just said. Science cannot explain how our planet moved from the outer arm of the Sagittarian arm of the Milky Way Galaxy, how it moved from there, which is where it has been all my life. I remember learning about it in school. You could find it, read it in books. You could listen to scientists talk about it. That was the understanding. That has changed. Now our planet has never been in the outer arm of the Sagittarian arm of the Milky Way Galaxy. Now it is on the Orion arm, halfway in between. It's twice as close to the center of the galaxy, and it's on the other side of the galaxy, about 75,000 light years away. Science can't explain that, because science doesn't even believe that happened. What else? It turns out that we have a world that is completely controlled by a very small group of extremely powerful, extremely wealthy people. And that all of the conspiracy theorists have been right this whole time. When they talked about, ever since whoever knows how long ago. I mean, you look at it now, if I really start looking at it, we're going back at least to the Flavian dynasty. That's, I think, at least where, if it didn't start there, it certainly took a big giant leap forward. And this is the world we've been living in. We're still living in the Flavian dynasty, where they're making up religions and they're controlling information. And, you either go along with the narrative or you're not able to function in society. We live in a world now, I live in a world now, where not only do aliens exist, but even aliens aren't aliens. When I first heard about aliens way back in the 80s, and we were starting to hear about people getting abducted by supposed extraterrestrial aliens that all pretty much looked the same. They looked like what we call the Greys. And people were being taken out of their homes, and they were being implanted, and they were being sexually abused, and they were being anally probed. Even that I found out isn't, well, not that that's a surprise. That's not accurate either. Those aliens aren't aliens at all. They happen to be creations of that same group of extremely powerful people who control deep state military. And I live in a world now where our deep state world, people who are controlling the world, have access to technologies that we used to write science fiction movies about. And we have the leaders of those those deep state projects who have openly stated that everything that you see in Star Wars and in Star Trek, we've already got. We got that. So aliens actually aren't from outside of our solar system. They're actually a human creation. And not only do we have these human created aliens that have spaceships and all kinds of things, but there are actual extraterrestrials. There are beings, uncountable number of beings who live in other star systems and other galaxies. And on top of that, they live in higher dimensions. What else? I've come to find out that I can't trust the election system. I used to say, well, at least we have this, people are idiots, but at least we have this system of governance where people can vote what they want in. And I used to say, you know what, if you're going to complain about things, then do something. Go become an activist. Go, get into politics. Do something. Don't complain about it. That's what I would have said, a year and a half ago. I'm not saying that anymore. I wouldn't waste, I think going into politics would be a complete waste of time because the system is completely rigged. A while back, I thought that Donald Trump was the most dangerous person on the planet. And while I still think that Donald Trump is a narcissist and is a thief and a liar and a criminal, he makes more sense than any politician we have currently running the world. And now looking back on the things that he said during his debate with Hillary, and he said the system is rigged. And he says, I know the system's rigged because I'm part of it. And when she said to him, she said, you don't pay taxes. He says, that makes me smart. I now respect that. I now see that completely differently. He's just somebody who is explaining the reality of the situation. He's still a narcissist and a thief and a criminal, a con man. But he's light years better than what we got going on in the government right now, anywhere in the world. I lived in a world where there were separate countries that were independent, and that is no longer true. What else? What else did I miss? What other things that have gone on in the world that now we've got this other thing, which is very interesting and I'm very excited about. I didn't know existed, called the solar flash or called the event. We now live in a world where the electromagnetic field surrounding the Earth is dwindling and is shifting dramatically. And it is not only changing our DNA, it is not only changing the vibration of the expression of our reality, but it is allowing us to interact with worlds and dimensions that would have been impossible for us to interact with. I lived in a world 2 years ago where I believed in beings that we would have called ascended masters, we would have called them angels, we would have called them spirit guides. And I've come to find out that those beings exist, but they aren't ethereal beings that sort of float around and just give us inspiration. They're actual entities. They're people just like you and I, even though they may have a different physical bodily structure that they live in. But they're people. They're people with personalities who happen to live on other dimensions, who are related to us spiritually, that know us, that have known us for thousands of lifetimes. And they are simply our friends who are trying to help us and are willing to interact directly with us for the first time in human history. And all of this has happened for me within the past year and a half. My reality has completely shifted. I now live in, I've gotten used to it, mostly. I've gotten mostly used to it. But I live in on a daily basis. I am in communion and contact and communicating with these beings that I used to call elves or ascended masters or ancestor spirits. They're just people like me that are just on the other side of my perception in a higher dimension, but have a connection to me and talk to me on a daily basis. Well, talk maybe not be the right word. Communicate with me. Sometimes continuously throughout the day I get energies and feelings and stuff that and I've just decided not to think about it, otherwise I'll lose my mind. I'll go crazy. This is the world that we live in now. This is the world I live in now. Perhaps I've lost my mind. Perhaps I've gone bonkers. Perhaps I'm just a pathetic, aging guy who just can't handle reality, and I've manufactured this craziness just to give myself a feeling of relevance. Or the universe has not been at all what I thought my whole life. All of those experiences I had as a kid that I didn't know what to do with my whole life, I now know exactly what they mean. This is the world that we live in. And I don't really know what the point of this video is I was really trying to come up with something and I wasn't getting inspired about anything. But I did want to make a video just talking about how everything has changed, that my understanding of reality just is not what it was. Not even close. Not even close. I take that back. There's one thing that hasn't changed. And the one thing that hasn't changed is what I've been teaching this whole time that I've had a channel, which is that there is only one truth. There is only one truth that permeates everything. And that is that you must live authentically for the joy of your own soul. And there is nothing else that matters. Nothing. Whatever we can point to as being a problem, whether it be personally, whether it be globally, whether it be spiritually, whether it be psychological, physical, health-wise, whatever problem you can point at, if you take it all the way back to its source, the source of it will be somebody acting contrary to the authenticity of their soul. It's the only thing that matters in this universe. And even though now I live in a universe where my hopes have been vindicated, against all odds, I was preaching to you this belief that the universe loves us and the universe must give us everything we want if we choose to live and give ourselves authentic joy. If we do that, the universe must give us everything that we need. Give us fulfillment and happiness. And the only reason I came to that conclusion wasn't because of the evidence. There wasn't any evidence in my life that said this was the nature of the universe. I just came to the realization that I was unwilling to live in an unjust universe. And I was unwilling to be browbeaten into believing that this was some hopeless prison matrix, which is an understandable conclusion. Even though I was railing against people and calling them victims and having victim mentality for believing that, it's not because the evidence doesn't tell you that. When you've gone through trauma and you live in this three-dimensional isolated state, and no matter how hard you try, it seems that nothing works towards you, and you seem to live in a cold, empty universe that's filled with malevolent spiritual beings out to devour you. That is an understandable experience. But my warrior mindset said, I don't deserve that, and I refuse to live in that. And I mean, denial, stubbornness, I don't know, but it's served me. You know, I've had physical issues in my life, health issues, and I said, I refuse to be sick. I refuse to be in pain, and I refuse to be sick. I won't do it. I refuse. I refuse to live in a universe where my authentic soul reality is not being rewarded. I refuse to live in that unjust universe. And I told you that. And I didn't tell you that because I knew it for a fact. I told you that because I felt it to be true, and I refused to live in any other kind of reality. And it turns out I'm right. I didn't have any way to prove it. Now I do. Now I know that this is a limited three-dimensional universe. Everything that I was saying turns out to be true. It is just simply a place where souls go to learn and to grow. And the truth is that the entire multiverse is filled with spiritual beings who are completely and totally focused on all of the positive attributes that we strive so hard just to glimpse in the three dimension. Loving unconditionally, joy, connection to all essence, to all life. This is the natural way of living for all beings except for those who live in the third dimension. And now those who live in the third dimension are going to be vindicated. We're going to be freed from that. So when I found that out, it wasn't just relieving to me. I mean, you know, my 3D brain had a real hard time with it, but I was so happy to know that there was hope, that the things that I valued as a little kid. You know, I remember being 4 years old, one of my first memories. And I remember being 4 years old, and I remember saying to myself, but I remember saying to myself, I'm going to live forever. And I didn't mean physically. I was aware that I was an essence. I was a spiritual essence. And I was aware that it was impossible for me to die. How can this consciousness die? It can't. This consciousness is more than my physical body. I will never die. And the belief that, you know, that that love is the most powerful force in the universe, that joy is our true essence, and that happiness and fulfillment are the inevitable birthright of all conscious beings. Turns out all of that is true. And so it's a lot easier now to go on and continue to do what, you know, for me, I just trudged along. It took everything in me. I won't lie to you. It took absolutely everything in me. Some people are hopeful. I wasn't hopeful. I was just, like I said, I'm a warrior. I refused to live in an unjust universe. And I still refuse to live in an unjust universe. I refuse to deny myself anything that I want. I refuse to deny myself whatever it is that brings me joy. I refuse to do it. I will die before I accept anything less than the most perfect life I can live. And I hope that I've inspired other people to take on that same fearless attitude. And now we know that not only is that the truth, that is the norm for every other being in the universe except for those of us who get trapped in the third dimensional mindset. So, that's it for my ranting from right now. Again, this channel, if you want me to continue to stay on this channel, then not only subscribe, like the videos, go and watch, treat this channel like a library. Don't just come on here and be passive and let me do all the talking and hopefully inspire you. Put some effort into learning this. I mean, there's so much information here. So the free channel is here for you. It is a free library. There's information here you will not find anywhere else. And if you want to help me keep the lights on and you want to support this channel, go here to thunderwizard.com and subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. You will have access to not only the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong, which is the triune energy practice of Qigong, Kundalini, and the heart center lightning force. It's the only place in the world you're going to find that. That will empower you and help your DNA and the vibration of your body, your nervous system, to be able to handle the higher dimensional energies that are beginning to hit us. And it's only begun. The higher dimensional energies, when they hit, it's going to be amazing. But you will be much better off if you get your body and your energy system prepared. Go here and subscribe. Go here to courses.thunderwizard.com to see all the stuff that I have. And through the end of this month, we've got the Solar Flash special, solarflash.thunderwizard.com. You'll get $2,500 worth of video courses and certifications, at least 3 different certifications that you can turn into a business. I'm giving it away, almost giving it away, solarflash.thunderwizard.com. A new book, Interdimensional Revolution, go to audiobooks.thunderwizard.com. And also Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth is another audiobook that just came out. You can also get it on Amazon and Kindle. And there's something else I really want to promote. And I'll be very sad if it doesn't work because I think it's an awesome idea. I love it. And if I can do anything to encourage you to do it as well, it's askmike.thunderwizard.com. People ask questions on the live streams, and lots of times I don't know what they're talking about because there's just not enough space to give context. You have these deep, complex questions, and there's emotional connections to it that you just can't put into, a sentence or two. And you're doing it with your thumb on your phone, and I don't know what the hell you're talking about. And then I get annoyed and I say, I don't know what the hell that means. I want to be able to answer those questions. And what I will do is I will allow you to upload a 5-minute or less video stating your question. You can explain it, give it some context so I can have a deeper understanding, so I can sense your emotional connection. And I will put that up in a video, and then I will respond to it for at least 10 minutes. If you want to have a 30-minute session with me, which normally, I charge, $300 at least for a personal session. If you want a personal session with me, I will record it and upload it onto the channel, and we can show, because the questions that you have and the issues you have will be similar to many people watching. And I will put that up on the channel as well. And so if you want to be a part of that, go to askmike.thunderwizard.com and figure out which option works best for you. All right, so now I've done the business. Now I'm happy to open it up for questions or feelings if you want. Thundra Gucharan says hello. She's one of my Vedic astrologers, and she has a website, Thundra, THUNDRA.thunderwizard.com. Zerlath Immortal, honest feeling. Torn up today with being single, but encouraged by one I have hoped for years. I don't know what that means, but being encouraged is a good thing. So thank you for sharing that and sharing your feelings with us. I don't quite understand what you're saying, but I don't have to. That's okay. Let's see. Leon, welcome to the channel. This is a question and answer. What I like in my questions is, if you look below, Lance, he wrote question. He wrote student of Thundra, which he didn't need to put. I don't care about that. But he wrote the word question in all caps, and that gets my attention. So your question, you're technically asking me a question. I'd prefer a deeper question. What am I drinking? This is actually a combination of some fruit juice and some kombucha, tea, soft drink, and it's sort of mixed all together. So it's the closest I get to drinking a soda. Lance Johnson questions. Some nights I feel my spirit guide come into the bed at night. I enjoy it, but it freaks my wife out. Is there anything you can suggest for me to tell her to calm down? Well, you said you feel. So why is your wife freaking out? Does that mean she's feeling it? There's something going on in the way you described it that's not making complete sense to me. So if she's freaking out because you're freaking out or you're reacting, then instead of telling her to calm down, keep it to yourself. I don't know what you're talking about because I'm not there, and I live alone. So when my spirit guides show up, my interdimensional spirit guides show up, I don't respond in any particular way because I'm usually in a deep meditative state. But what do you want me to? You want me to tell you how to tell your wife to calm down? I have to be straight with you. The way that you're describing how you deal with your wife sounds a little insensitive. Calm down. Shut up. Get over it. You want me to tell you how to control your wife, who's supposed to be your partner in life? Why not listen to her? It's a strange concept, but why not, say, what's bothering you, honey? Why are you upset? How can I help you feel better? Why do you want to stop her from having a feeling? Listen, the way that you wrote it sounds very controlling. Let's see, you say more here. You say, she wants me to stop contact, but I'm in too deep. I don't know what to tell you, man. Look, she doesn't have to be part of it. You don't need to do this in such a, see, there's something about this that doesn't pass the smell test. There's something you're saying, there's something that you're doing, because this is personal. So you're talking to her about it. Look, there's something about the whole thing that's making her feel insecure. right? She maybe has some jealousy issues. I don't know. I'm getting that feeling that what's really going on isn't about the fact that you are connecting to spirit guides. There's something else going on that I'm not privy to. I don't know. It's none of my business, but I can just smell something ain't right in this. So my suggestion is to stop telling her how to feel and to stop talking her out of her feelings. And, you know, if she's uncomfortable with your spiritual practice, then don't talk to her about it. It's personal. She doesn't have to know about it. If you're being contacted by your spirit guides, then they're coming in telepathically interacting with you. That's a personal thing. And if she doesn't want to be a part of that, don't force her into it. Just keep it to yourself. You know, respect her, what she wants. And I don't know her, you know, anyway, it sounds, Lance, like you need some relationship counseling. There's so much stuff I can feel that's so wrapped up in everything. You need some relationship counseling with, and you know, if you want to work things out with your wife. I hope you guys are able to work it out. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. I don't know. Anyway, but I wish you all the best, and I'm happy that you are having experiences with your spirit guide, and you should keep that up. And there's no reason to include your wife in it one way or another. That's my limited take. Maybe I'm wrong. Agent of the Universe, honest feeling. I've been feeling intense negative feelings, and it makes me want to become master of existence to escape from pain. Well, I appreciate that you understand now that your desire to become master of the universe is not coming from strength. It's coming from weakness. Every time that you want to become master of the universe, it means that you are deathly afraid and you feel completely vulnerable. So this is called psychosis. So there's psychosis and there's neurosis. Psychosis is when your fantasy is completely divorced from reality. Neurosis is when you know what reality is, but you're struggling against it. So actually, you're in a state of neurosis because you're aware that what you want to do is create this completely false reality where you are invulnerable. This is very narcissistic. I know a little bit about you to know why, you know, the way that your brain works takes you there. So there's nothing you can do. See, here's the thing about negative feelings. That's all they are feelings. And, you know, there's nothing you can do to make them go away. You have to just accept that you have them. And then you act with consciousness. You act in ways that are constructive to yourself and to other people. And you just do your best. Sometimes you, instead of acting out your negative feelings, you tell people, I'm having a bad day. I'm feeling some uncomfortable feelings. If you can trust people, you can say, I'm scared. I'm lonely, I'm scared, I'm sad. Instead of doing what you want to do, because becoming master of existence is you're wanting to control and torture people. You're wanting to take away their individuality. Again, it's narcissism. You're wanting to, you're not, but you're wanting to become a sociopath. Somebody who doesn't accept anybody else's feelings, who doesn't have any empathy for anybody else. When you talk about becoming master of existence, you're talking about getting rid of everybody's feelings so that you can have total control over them. And it's understandable. Everybody has those feelings to some degree, myself included, so I understand that. And I appreciate your willingness and your bravery to share that and to just keep doing your thing. Keep doing the work. So Lance says she also feels that she actually jumps up and screams. I don't know what to tell you, Lance. You know, my experience of spirit guides is that they don't do that. The spirit guides that I work with would never violate people's boundaries. So what you're talking about is that your wife has her specific boundaries. She doesn't want to experience that. She has that right. And you're telling me that these beings are coming in and they are sociopathically disregarding her boundaries, and she jumps up and she screams. She has the right to be able to stay in bed and not be bothered by unseen beings. This is what I mean. Something's not right here. That's the beings I work with don't do that. They would never violate anybody's boundaries whatsoever. So, Lance, I don't know you, but there's something you're not telling me. Let's see what else. Zeralath Immortal question: have you tasted the kombucha drink Synergy? I have not. I have seen it, but I've drinking so many of them. There's a lot that are very similar. I'm sure it tastes great, but I've tasted different brands that are probably extremely similar, if not identical. Timothy Zoll, honest feeling. Anyway, that's not really a question, by the way. I mean, can we get out of the superficial questions? You know, what kind of, what are you drinking? What kind of underwear do you have on? You know, what kind of toothpaste do you use? Let's get to some real questions, guys. Come on. Let's see. Timothy Zoll, honest feeling. I struggled with knowing my spirit animal. Walking to work, there was a hawk on the sidewalk. It looked at me unafraid. I said, dude, please move. It gradually moved. That's awesome. Your spirit animal is actually a direct connection to a higher dimensional being that's working with you. And I've come to find out that animals are more easily able to be influenced by higher dimensional beings. Mine, at least one of mine, is the snake. If I see a snake, I know that my higher dimensional guide is, that some pretty intense message is going to come to me. Anyway, I'm really happy that you found your spirit animal. And I hope it keeps paying off for you. Let's see, what else? Zakara question: is there a way to speed up the process of gaining superpowers through Qigong? Also, how long would it take to gain protection from negative entities? That's a whole other issue, Zakara. I encourage you to go to askmike.thunderwizard.com, because that is a whole half-hour response to that question. There's so much in there. The first part of your question, there's an old story that's been told by martial artists for, I don't know, how hundreds of years, who knows how long. And there's martial arts student, and he goes to his teacher and he says, teacher, how long will it take me to master this? Teacher says, it'll take probably 10 years for you to master this. And he goes, actually he says, if I practice an hour a day, how long will it take me to master this? And he says, it'll take you about 10 years. He goes, that's too long. What if I practice 2 hours a day? He goes, well, if you practice 2 hours a day, it'll take you 20 years. So, the fact that you want superpowers. Now, I understand. I sought after superpowers and I actually gained some. So I understand that. But having gained them, I then realized how worthless they were. Superpowers are meaningless. They don't give you spirituality. They don't give you awareness. They actually are a trap because you then start to identify with them and think that your worth comes from them. You also set yourself up to be extremely humiliated because nobody wants superpowers unless they're going to use them. And the only reason you use them is to gain control over other people, or to get attention from other people, or to feel somehow that you have some protection against other people. There's no other reason to have superpowers. Superpowers are like bodybuilders on steroids. It's just for looks. Yeah, they can lift a lot of weights, but it's just for looks. It doesn't accomplish anything. It doesn't make them happier, healthier, it's a waste of time. Superpowers also represent the thing that you need to gain mastery of the most, which means whatever superpower you get is your weakness. I'll give you an example. If somebody is given the gift of healing, like if they have a superpower where they can heal other people with their touch, the way that the universe sets it up is that that person feels that they are special, which of course we all are. And that person feels like their healing power has risen them above the average person. But here's what it really means. If you've been given the gift of healing, it means that you killed and tortured hundreds and thousands of people in other lifetimes. And you have to balance that out. So what the universe did is said, yeah, I'm going to give you the power of healing. Now you have to heal everybody that comes to you. Everybody that comes to you, you have to now heal them. Now, if you're told that, if you come into this world and the universe says you were evil, sociopathic, murderer, torturer, and you've in multiple lifetimes caused harm to thousands of people, and in this lifetime you're going to heal every single one of those people that have reincarnated, you're going to go, holy crap, I am cursed. But instead, the universe says to you, you have the gift of healing. And you go, oh my God, I'm so cool. I have the gift of healing. And you go and you have all these healing seminars and you think it means something. It doesn't mean anything. So Zakara, the fact that you want superpowers tells me that you're insecure. It tells me that you're frightened. It takes one to know one. It tells me that you're insecure. It tells me that you're frightened. It tells me that you're not happy. You're not fulfilled. It tells me that you want to have power over other people. You don't think people like you. You don't think people accept you. You don't feel loved and seen and accepted. And the fact that you want to speed it up tells me that you don't have discipline. Because superpowers come from mastering the basics and enjoying the basics. So there is no way to speed up the process, my friend. And when you don't want superpowers, they will come looking for you. If you go chasing after them, they will run away from you. There you go. I'm sorry that isn't what you want. How long would it take to gain protection from negative entities? That is a question that needs to be dealt with in a longer answer. I recommend you go to askmike.thunderwizard.com and I will put the time into answering that question for you. All right, that's it. I don't see any other questions here. I've done all the selling. Look, guys, this channel is about doing the work. It's not about listening to me talk. If you want to do the work, you've got the places to go. Thunderwizard.com, Solar Flash, Ask Mike, and I also recommend you take a look at the audiobooks that I've just put out. Go to audiobooks.thunderwizard.com, or you can just look for me, Michael William Denny, on Amazon, and you'll see all of my books there as well. And I guess that's it for today. So thank you for showing up. I appreciate it. And I do also recommend, guys, take a look at the interdimensional shamanic journey meditation course. And you'll have access to that if you subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Challenge. I'm going to keep putting those things. I would have to say that the most transformative experience of my life has been these interdimensional meditations. And it's not necessarily easy. It can be very challenging, but I think it's the best way forward for everybody. So I offer my version of it to you, which is the interdimensional shamanic journey meditation course. But you're more than happy to just go search CE5 wherever, and figure out your own path on that. And yeah, all right, that's it. Thank you. I wish me well. I'm about 10 days away from going back home, even though it's a foreign country, Australia. That's my adopted home. My hope is I never have to leave there again. I may have to, but I'm going to go back there in 10 days, and I'm going to try and see if I can stay there forever. In any case, I hope that your world is going well for you, even though it might be completely different than it was, just like mine is. All right, guys.